Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Everyday Excellence. I'm your host, Todd Baldwin, and today we have Jim Caragianes, the CEO of Roses Cleaning Inc. Jim, how you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on.
You bet. I was looking forward to chatting with you, so I appreciate taking the time to hop on. Jim just told me he, for our listeners, is in Aruba. He's actually on vacation. So, Jim, thanks for taking a little bit of time out of your vacation to be on the show today.
I might have a little bit of sunstroke today, so I apologize. I got some sun. It's nice. Rose and I are celebrating our birthdays. We're about a week apart, so we just snuck away for a couple of days and back to work in a couple. So it's wonderful.
Hey, any day is a good day on vacation. So I appreciate. I mean, I'm in Dallas Fort Worth. It's 105 degrees outside. So I envy you right now. But Jim, let's dive in. For people hearing for the first time about Roses Cleaning Inc., give us a quick overview of what you do and who you serve.
Well, we're a home cleaning company by nature. We started as a home cleaning company, but now we also do commercial cleaning. We're also a professional organizing company, and we service Eastern Massachusetts, basically from Boston all the way down to Providence, all the way to the Cape. So basically suburbs of Boston all the way to Provincetown. And we've grown over time. So we've been doing this for 20 years. Rose started the company, in essence, 20 years ago. We didn't incorporate 20 years ago, but Rose has been doing this from the ground up since about 2006. And it started as a micro business and remained one for about 10 years with some of the same clients for that span of time. And so we grew it from this grassroots to more recently when we sort of got into sort of the online advertising and Todd, we've talked about this a little bit, but getting into Yelp, getting into Chamber of Commerce, getting into the community a little bit more to sort of get our presence in there. I married into this. Rose has been doing this longer than I have. Rose and I kind of became partners when we met, and it's been a wonderful transition for me, and I hope for Rose too, where I came in saying, "Wow, what a wonderful company you have. Let's tell people about it." And that's sort of how we grew from this micro to, I would say, a medium-sized business now, and this is where we are today, over 30 employees.
So, Jim, tell me a little bit about what life was like before you started running Roses Cleaning Inc. together.
Rose had been doing this since 2006, like I was saying, and doing well. She sort of had her own schedule at a certain point and had a team of people working for her. I would call it a micro business, a smaller calendar, as you would say in the cleaning industry. I was in Los Angeles before running Rose's Cleaning. For about 20 years. I was in post-production for television. I was a post supervisor. I don't come from a cleaning background. I come from a manager, logistics, technical background. I'm not an engineer, but I worked with a lot of engineers in my field. And so I just come from that sort of very exact technical, running a really complicated calendar on deadline with technical needs. And so I kind of stepped in, and when you look at a cleaning calendar, at least on paper, it looks like a post-production calendar where you have a series of 1 million details you've got to get done. Every house has something unique. Every detail is important. And how do we organize that? And that's sort of where I stepped in and tried to help kind of grow our team and have Rose sort of gain that knowledge too. Rose didn't come from a management background. She came from a people background, a cleaning background. So we sort of merged together in that sense, adding some sort of like structure. I would say I'm more of like the structure. She's more of the artist. And so we've kind of combined forces in that sense. And that was about 6 years ago.
Okay.
So, but Rose, just to be clear to everybody listening, Rose of Rose's Cleaning is the boss, even though we're married. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. I only chuckle because I got my entrepreneurial experience. I mean, my dad helped me start my first business. I grew up always working for my dad and doing things with his some businesses that he had. So working with family, it can be really hard. And then you multiply that with spouse, it can be even harder. So I'm just curious, what have you learned about working with Rose that other husband and wife business owners might find helpful?
I've been fortunate. Like I view us as soulmates. So like we always sort of get along. We do argue. Like if you ask any couple, I guarantee you there's nobody that says we never argue about business or like we definitely butt heads just because of the nature of who we are. We come from different backgrounds. And so we're sometimes oil and water with how to proceed with something, but we're able to just take a breath. We're able to like get some space, and then we just revisit like it didn't happen. It's really strange. Like you come back with a breath, and then you can sort of do that. And it's just so funny. Like she's down the hall right now, but I miss her. So it's like we just have this sort of magnetism, and I'm very lucky in that sense. So I would always say, just take a breath when you're struggling with all of it, and come back to it. That'd be my best advice.
Yeah, I have worked with a lot of clients that husband and wife combo, and I've seen a lot of really successful businesses um, come from that, right? So it's definitely doable, right? And then there's like me, my wife helps me a little bit with some things, but um, and really wasn't a conscious decision, but for some reason just never had her be super involved in the business, and so and that works for us. But hey, as long as you can make it work, business is growing, successful. A lot of ways to skin a cat, right? So kudos to that. I'm curious, is there a moment you can share, you can think of where you guys had different perspectives that ultimately led to a better decision for the company?
I think when we sort of took this step, like this was kind of the biggest thing for Rose, like when we decided to, and for me, I've never done this type of thing before. When we went to Yelp, for example, when we were adding a brand new idea for marketing, we had no idea how it was going to go. Rose was a little bit hesitant. She is also from Brazil originally, and an immigrant. So language was a thing. She's fluent in English, and she's brilliant at it. But at the time, it's just sort of this hesitancy to join into these sort of the bigger fish. And that was the thing. And I had to sort of work with her on that to, we kind of started very moderately, very, very small amounts on Yelp. And then we sort of grew it once she saw the success. So just sort of it's almost like a comfort level issue as we, and sort of like going into warm water and then to hot water, as opposed to just sort of diving in. And so that I would say that would be, and also for Rose, one of the things is just she doesn't come from a television background like me, and or radio background or anything like this with media. So being on camera or doing a podcast like this, for example, that wouldn't be her nature. So like getting her to sort of do social media, anything sort of forward facing, again, it's sort of easing into that. And so that was the trick. That sort of
Sure.
convincing her. It took a long time to do that. So it's a work in progress. She's brilliant at it when she does it. We just did a spotlight with Quincy Chamber of Commerce. It turned out great. And they're wonderful over at Quincy, by the way. Can't speak enough. But she, after about literally like 3 lines on camera, she turned into sort of Ryan Seacrest. Like she was like interviewing people, and
Yeah.
it clicked with her, and that's how she is. And it's just like getting over this hesitancy. And I can see that I have an advantage because I know her so well, and I can see it in her. I can just tell from her body language. And I know, okay, we gotta go slow, like pace.
Yeah. I think everybody has a little bit of fear being on camera or speaking in front of people. I still get nervous to this day. I'm much more comfortable doing these podcasts, but several years ago, I started doing videos and it was like pulling teeth. And I still cringe a little bit when I see myself on camera, but hey, just do it, right? Like Maggie
Yeah.
said, just do it.
It,
I
it,
was curious about your culture a little bit, right? And because the cleaning business, right? It's very people driven business. Employees are entering customers' homes and businesses. Often the customer's not there, so that makes trust, right? Training culture incredibly
Trust.
important, right? How do you describe the culture at Rose's Cleaning?
One of our core values is the reason Rose does this, and the reason we sort of get up in the morning to do this, and this is how she would describe it, is we only do beautiful cleaning. That's our goal. And it's,
I like that.
anytime it doesn't turn into that, it's a very upsetting thing for Rose. Rose is an organizational person. So she's very sort of, OCD is a strong word, but sort of in that mindset, like things need to be, we want it amazing every time. And so so we would never target ourselves as like a value cleaning company. We want to be sort of for lack of a better word, like the Louis Vuitton of cleaning. Like we want to sort of appeal to people who just want great cleaning. And that's how Rose is. And so our culture revolves around a lot of training. We don't, we try to hire people that have a lot of experience when we've grown in the past. We're very strict on safety protocols. We train on OSHA, and all sorts of stuff. So we don't, there's a huge process to becoming a roses cleaner. So our team tends to have, we're very lucky. We've had lower turnover with our staff over the years. People have stayed with roses, sort of like a tight knit, family, especially at the core. We've expanded a little bit. We've had people who have been here less time, but all this training still remains. And we're very strict on that. And again, so the culture is one of, we expect a lot. We definitely want to offer a great pay package and benefits. We want to be sort of at the top of the scale. We want people to stay and love working for our company. And I was kind of comparing. I was talking to somebody the other day. One of the things I would compare it to, if you've ever been out west in our country, there's a burger chain called In-N-Out Burger, and they run a company, and their mentality is they spend a lot in labor. They have a lot of people. They pay well. They pay much higher than normal fast food wages. Their labor is high, but people love working there. They have this built-in quality control with their burger because there's just people to handle it. People know, people stay. And that's kind of like the model we're trying to use. We don't have as many employees as In-N-Out, obviously, but the idea is the same. We want to keep the same great people to keep the quality. And
In-N-Out's a great company. There's actually, I'm in Dallas Fort Worth, so they came
do you
into
have them there?
Yeah, they came into our Texas or our market about, golly, I want to say probably 5-6 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, but they're fairly new. But you're right. I've heard a lot about their culture. They have a very small menu too. So they what they do, and they do it really well. I mean, it's burgers and fries and shakes. I mean,
I
that's
don't know
it.
if you know, I don't know if anybody knows this or if you know this, but they have a secret menu too. Do you know this?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So look up the In-N-Out secret menu and you'll be shocked.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
Look up animal style In-N-Out. That's what they call it.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. Hey, that's a riddle. That's like for our listeners. Go check out what's the secret menu.
It's amazing.
Kind of a follow-up question on culture. What values are non-negotiable when you hire someone to represent the company inside a customer's home?
You touched on it already, which is honesty, honesty. And we're a we're a family-owned company. We love working with families. We have family values. It's a personal thing going to somebody's home. We're in people's private area, a very, safe space for people. And we absolutely, must have trust. And that's absolutely our top goal. And so we hire trustworthy people. That's really what it comes down to. We've been good and fortunate in that sense. And so I can just say that I'm very proud of that. And it's absolutely something that is 100% the top thing. We want people who love to clean. Also, people who are passionate about cleaners, maybe someday want to run their own schedule. Leaders in the sense that they have a passion for this. And there's a whole group of people that are, my wife included, and one of our vice president of cleaning. They're both two peas in a pod when it comes to just being passionate about cleaning. So we're looking for that too.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally get that. Trust is huge, right? You got to trust your people, and then that trust has to be presented to the client because you're in their home, right? And so, no, it totally makes sense.
We have insurance. Part of the trust thing is, we're federally licensed. We've passed background checks. We have workers' comp. We have, we're licensed with the state of Massachusetts. We have liability insurance. So like we try to bring that trust. We try to sort of, quantify that trust, but it's more than that. It's like, is everybody that goes into your home 100% trustworthy? And that's our goal.
Yeah, no, it's a private space. So you got to make sure the client feels very comfortable, with that experience. When we talked earlier, I always do a little prep call before we have record our podcast. But one thing that stood out from our first conversation was that Rose's Cleaning does not treat every house like a simple mathematical formula. So you want to understand the home, customer, and what the customer actually needs. So why is it important for you to meet the customers or evaluate their home before simply giving them a price?
It's a great question. It's a great question. And I think every house, and Rose agrees, every house is unique. Whether or not you have a floor plan that's common, like a colonial home, or you're in a big apartment complex that has a similar floor plan, every home is unique. Everybody has different furniture, but beyond that, just beyond just sort of the physical setting, everybody has different needs. What do they need? They want certain things done. They don't want certain things done. They want it done a certain way. So part of the part of the process is meeting somebody to understand them and see the space at the same time, and to then accurately be able to give our best price. And that's our goal. We know it's a competitive space, so we want to be able to provide a flat rate space based on actually seeing and understanding what you need, and how often you need it also. And so depending on the cadence of your cleaning also, that's part of the formula. And it's and also seeing logistics. You can see the home. If there's pets, you can meet the pets. There's wonderful things about sort of introducing yourself to the client, and it's also a lot of fun. And also, we're humans, and I think sometimes we forget that. And I think this is a Rose and I really look forward to having that sort of personal connection too with people, and we love it. And so that's
Well,
another great thing.
yeah,
We get a good response from people
I'm a
too
big
when we come.
believer. Sure. No, go ahead. I think you've been hitting on what I was
I,
about to, I was going
yeah,
to interject there.
and we're always curious. We can never really figure out how companies. There's many who do this, and there's nothing disparaging we're trying to say about it. But how does a company, without looking at your home, price it for you? Like, I know it's based on bedrooms and square feet, but how could they possibly give you an accurate price 99% of the time based on just a form? I think it's wild, and I can't get on board with that.
No, I would agree. And there's that human connection, and I'm a big believer. I've been in sales my whole career, right? And so I'm a people person, and so but people buy people, they're buying that. They're buying you based off trust, right? So meeting them in person gives you opportunity to build that trust, right, and develop a relationship. And so they're you're looking at the home. You're looking at well, it takes. Well, they're looking at you, right, and trying to make. Hey, do I trust these people? But I don't see how you could get a bid either without actually coming to look at the home. But that human action, breaking bread, it's just you can't beat that. I mean, all this AI stuff drives me crazy. I mean, we're all as a digital agency, we're knee deep in AI. We love AI. We're still in AI solutions, but it still can't beat even what we're doing right on camera here and talking to each other and actually having a real conversation. So no, I agree with you 100%. And people by people, the most important part of the sales process is trust, right? Building trust. So totally makes sense to me. I'm curious though, what do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions customers have about hiring a professional cleaning company?
I think one of the funniest ones I ran into, I think it's what you'd expect normally, just like if you, but one of the things we ran into when we were first doing it and we were seeing homes, Rose and I have seen hundreds of homes, and we've enjoyed just this whole process, but people, I think, were under the understanding that, it would be me and Rose cleaning the house. Like, it was almost like, I think the misperception is you're hiring a small company or you're hiring a family company. It's the actual family that will do the cleaning. And while Rose early on, we actually did have to clean some houses when we were first sort of growing. Rose doesn't clean much anymore. We'll do some organizing, and if needed, if we're filling in or something like that, something came up. It hasn't happened in a while. Rose obviously still has her chops and can do it, but we're not a cleaning company, so that we're not cleaners ourselves. We're now management. We're now training. We're now sort of the essence of the company. At least trying to sort of grow that. But that was kind of strange at first. I'm like, no, Also, I didn't. I say this to people is that you wouldn't want me cleaning necessarily. I'm not I can do the vacuum. I can do windows. Rose has taught me a lot. I've learned a lot, but trust me, you want our team in there too. So
No, I can relate to that because I tell people all the time, I'm not, if I'm involved in a sales process or helping the team sell, whatever it may be, but I'm not the guy running the campaign. You don't want me running the campaign
you know,
either. I got to have people
so,
a lot smarter than me running
so
their
Tom,
campaigns.
I want to go back one second. You said something really interesting about AI. I just wanted to comment on that. We're not AI. We're not AI compatible as a company yet. We're aware of it. We've been sort of doing some research on it. But I did actually have this experience. I think it would be a misnomer. Like, I think it would be a real travesty if I was to ignore AI. Like, as a business owner that is old school or a people person like myself, I would say, as in terms of just how we're kind of doing business now, we have to be aware of it, right? Like, we have to know that it's out there. and if we ever need to adopt it, sort of how to do that. And so we can't pretend like this doesn't exist. I actually went on to ChatGPT the other day. It was actually a few weeks ago. I actually had to correct our search. So like you can search in ChatGPT for rose. It found a different roses cleaning. And I actually had to correct or train the AI. And I had that experience already. I'm like, wow, this, if I didn't do this, people would be finding the wrong company if they're looking for, you know, and so again, we can't just put our heads in the sand either.
That might be, I totally get what you're saying, but that might be what we call schema. Um, you may not have schema market properly in the website. I kind of went off topic there, but if you're not being found the way you are, there's things that you'd want to check and look at that's tied to the back end of your website. But
Hmm.
I want to talk a little bit about marketing, but had one other, I want to ask you
Sure.
one other question about roses. And I'm just curious, what are some of the things, that she does that you would say differentiates her from maybe the competition or somebody just looking for the lowest price?
It's what we see a lot, and there are many great cleaning companies out there. So in no way am I saying that Rose's Cleaning is the only great company. I'm biased, of course, but we
Sure.
pride ourselves in being a thorough cleaning company. What we would say is that we see a lot, and what we hear a lot from people who have switched to us, for example, is the deep cleaning starts great. The first cleaning goes wonderfully, looks great. The next cleaning, they change who they send. They go for a lot less time. They've done a very topical cleaning after that. It's sort of a way to get into the house, and then it's sort of low cost cleaning from there, or the minimal they can do. Our goal is to get the home every time back to the deep cleaning look. So our initial cleaning, we call the deep cleaning, is usually just to get it in great shape to do these, monthly or weekly cleanings. Our goal is to get it back to that same look, and it requires, you know, we have to go out there every time and do it. So we have to perform at a high level. That's what we really think separates us from several.
It's so funny to listen to your answers because you mentioned several things that resonates with our business, and that's one of the reasons why I always say I love talking to entrepreneurs is because you guys are in the residential cleaning space. I know you're trying to also grow in the commercial. I'm in digital marketing, but yet we have so much in common. And a perfect example is a lot of feedback we get about other agencies is that hey, they were great in the sales process, they were great the first 30 days, but over time, within 90, 120 days, it's like they just disappear. We're like, I can't get a hold of them, or they're very non-responsive. And so it's crazy how we have similarities. And that's, like I said, it's one of the reasons why I started doing these podcasts is because I like talking to entrepreneurs. And I find it very interesting how we get up so much in common because we run businesses. So we have a lot of similarities, even though it's two totally different businesses. So let's jump into growth strategy and so forth. So residential, and I think I said that right a while ago, residential is primary, but when we talked, you said commercial is something that you want to really focus on or start to grow. Is that correct?
We definitely like the commercial space. It's a very competitive space, and we would like to grow our sort of our percentage of that. Right now. We come from we're just naturally set up originally as a home cleaning company, and that's kind of Rose's. That's how Rose sort of came through. And so we're figuring out the commercial space. It's been great. We actually have been growing it over the last 2 years, particularly, and what it offers business. It's because it's steady work for the company. We can do it. It's on a schedule, and we can it's good sort of for like a base margin for your company. And also, it can be exciting work. For example, we clean many different spaces, and it's actually pretty exciting for our team and for us. We clean a bowling alley, for example. We help at elderly communities around the state, and so there's a lot of great things. It's not just sort of mopping floors at a factory. That's not what commercial is. It can mean we clean at a bio lab in Waltham, for example, and so it's also interesting. Uh, Diverse work, which I think a
Yeah.
lot of people don't remember. So it has, but again, we're trying to grow it from about 10 to 15% to about 25%.
Okay. I know we've worked with some commercial cleaning companies as well, and I know it can involve real competitive bidding against several other companies. So, how do you avoid competing solely on price? or
It's
can you? I
difficult.
mean, I'm just curious.
It's been a growing process for us, to be honest. Like we've probably lost a lot of bids. We've bid a lot. We haven't. I would say our percentage is lower in sort of conversion when it comes to commercial, for sure. And it is because of that. It's because everybody at the end of the day, when you're talking about commercial, almost all is based on price. It with a few exceptions, depending on what their past experience has been. So, for example, if you're going to a commercial space that had a horrible experience with the last cleaner that was doing it as cheap as possible, you're more likely to have a little bit more leeway when it comes to price and quality. So, when you go into that type of setting, especially in a smaller business, that seems to be more feasible for us, or at least a little bit more sort of conducive for sort of our style. But I mean, we've talked to a lot of people in our industry, and we were out at ISSA last November. We talked to a lot of people doing commercial cleaning. That's our big sort of festival out in Las Vegas for the sanitary commission. And what we learned there is they just told us basically. I was talking to owners, and they were just like, you just got to cut your hourly price to bare minimum. It's really really hard, and that's not necessarily something we were ready to do yet. And it's like, and so we just weren't set up to go after those high competitive bids.
Sure. It's funny.
And
Every industry has their conference in Vegas. Everybody goes to
it's not
Vegas.
by accident.
So
It's not by accident, for sure. Yeah,
I
it's wonderful.
last question on the commercial side. So you just mentioned some of the type of businesses that you in buildings, commercial properties that you guys are doing, have worked on. Is there a type of commercial account that fits best for Rose's Cleaning?
We actually, what we really love doing is elderly related, elderly care, elderly housing. We had this experience. I don't want to go into specifics on names, but we clean elderly facilities. These would be like apartments that are typically for elderly, and they're quite nice, and they're just residential that have a little bit of extra care. And we typically clean there weekly, but then some of the residents have seen us and they just want to hire us for their apartments. And we love just helping people that struggle with cleaning now. Just in the past, they've been cleaners. They're really proud of being clean, but just it's hard for them to reach things. And so we love sort of giving people that clean feeling if they, even if they can't do it themselves. Like, it's sort of like passing on the passion back to people, to give them that. And it's wonderful. And and Rose and I just have that love. And we connect well with I think cleaning connects well with that generation too. So we've had that experience. We love it. We love every minute of it.
That's awesome. I love to see your passion too for what you do. Right, I can just tell you're passionate about that, and that's really cool to see. They always say, right, find something you love and make it your job, and you never work another day in your life. Right.
True.
So let's talk a little bit about marketing, because you've mentioned Yelp, and I know when we talked, right, you said Yelp's been a really meaningful lead source, and you're also active on social media, and that you were evaluating Google Ads and SEO. So, which marketing channels are producing today?
We've had a kind of a steady growth pattern. We were primarily Yelp, and we're getting about, I would say, about 3.5. The last I calculated ROAS from Yelp. So, and we're not huge investors in Yelp. We're sort of in the middle of, I would say we're in the middle of the road. We spend a lot of our advertising budget on Chamber of Commerce. We're members of 3 local Chamber of Commerce's: Quincy, Milton, and Plymouth. We do a lot of events. We do a lot of charity events, and so and do a lot of things within that community. So we do a lot of ad spend sort of at a grassroots level.
Sure.
And we love that. And that's what Rose wants to do. That's by choice. So we're easing now into, I'll tell you a Yelp story in a minute if you want to hear it. But I think every business owner you ask 100 business owners a Yelp story, they'll have 100 different stories, maybe with a similar theme, but maybe, but we're easing into the LSA side of Google Ads right now. We sort of like that pay per lead as opposed to a pay per click scenario. And so we're getting into that, and that sort of makes sense, just coming from the Yelp side too, and also being from a small business. And we're just dipping our toe in, like you said. We had talked last, and now we're just really getting into it this week, actually.
Well, tell me about the Yelp story.
So we just had a recent run in, and
Or
everybody's
did
had
you?
the reviews.
Did you say you had a
Yeah,
story or
I do. I just have, well, I
a
have a
Yelp
quick anecdote
example?
for you if you want to hear. I
Okay,
was thinking
yeah,
about this because it's a front of my mind, and I've just written I wrote a 2-page letter this week to our manager, our contact over at Yelp. We've had the same story. Everybody's heard this. Like, you just have these reviews that get put up there, and they're just, you just feel uh kind of punched in the stomach. Like, just, we just feel it's like this inaccuracy that comes from sort of like the Yelp and the lack of transparency with how
sure,
to sort of protect your brand. We don't think Yelp's a brand ambassador necessarily. So we sort of are just kind of fighting and clawing, trying to find the best way. And there's really no good method we found yet, as everybody's already attested to. But the way I would describe it to people is the way Yelp sort of operates and the way they sort of come back at you as a business is, it would be like for me to say, as Rose is cleaning, and I let's say I purchased a robot, and the robot's this new fancy AI robot. You can kind of get something like this now. They're very expensive, but you can get one that could go in and do sort of minimal cleaning. Let's say I hired this robot, I bought this robot, send it to your home. And the robot goes in and starts cleaning. It's cleaning great. It's sort of doing the baseboards. It's doing the dusting. But then all of a sudden, during the middle of your cleaning, it falls over and it breaks your couch. It just falls over, tips over, hits the couch. Customer calls me and says, "Hey, your robot just broke my couch. What was going on? It was going okay, and then it just fell over." If I were to say, this is how Yelp would respond. This is the matter. If I were to say to the customer, "Hey, listen, that's just how the robot works. It doesn't, that's what robots do. They sometimes just tip over. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm sorry, I can't replace your
right,
couch because it's just how robots are." And that's what Yelp does with their sort of algorithm response. Like, we can't do anything about this because of our algorithm sort of doing this. And so that's just how we run into it. And that would be crazy to me, right? As a business owner, to say, I can take no
sure.
responsibility for my robot that's in your house. But so this is where the frustration sort of, my head boils over a little bit. And we're trying, and everybody has it. We know this is a common thing. So we all sort of are in the same boat. And that does help in a way, but it's it's hard when when we're working so hard to sort of build that reputation, and then you sort of have these, just somebody's having a bad
Reviews that
day,
pop
they just
up.
make up something and it stays and it sticks sometimes, and you're just like, well, you know it's so that's the maddening thing. I wanted to,
Yeah, I hear that a
top of
lot
the
about
mind this
Yelp.
week.
Yeah, let me ask you, so if you have a bad review come in, or even if it's, say, a negative review or semi-negative, do you have the ability as a business owner to reply like you can on Google
Yes,
reviews? Okay, so
yes, you can.
you can reply, so you can kind of present your case, which I think is really, really important, to reply to not only good reviews, but especially bad reviews. So we
That's
coach our
true.
clients on that all the time. We tell them, don't get into a, lack of a better word, a argument or piss and match with whoever left you the review, but just state your case. Because a lot of times I find, like, we don't even have a history of working with you, you know? Um, so maybe they're the
Right.
wrong company and so forth, right?
It's
And
true.
so
It's
with
true.
Yelp, yeah, no, 100%. And so I'm a big believer. I sat in a conference once. It was a learning event for this group I was in. It was called Love Your Haters. And I did not realize what it was at the time. But I went to attend because we always had really, really good speakers. But it was all about replying to negative reviews. So theme, hence love your haters, and why it was important to do that as a business owner, to let the public know that, hey, you do care about your business, and that you are serious about providing the best service and best whatever it may be for the industry that you're in. So, and then they also talked a lot about how the public gives you the benefit of the doubt when they see a business owner actually replying to those. It's kind of a subconscious messaging that's going on, like, hey, Jim really does care about their clients, and they really do care about the work they're doing, and he really does care that there was a negative experience. And more times than not, if they're going to believe and give you the benefit of the doubt with all your good reviews versus maybe one or two bad reviews. And the funny thing, Jim, I was sitting there listening to all this, and I did that exact same thing once when I was looking for a place for my family to stay up in Colorado, and I found this place. Looked really cool and all that jazz. This is on TripAdvisor. They had tons of good reviews, tons, but they also had a few bad reviews. But every bad review I noticed, and this was before I even sat in this conference. This is like before I even heard this presentation. But every bad review, the owner replied, and I did. I said, "Hey, I'm going with the good reviews, and I'm going to reserve a place," and we did. and it was great. We had a wonderful experience. Went back the next year. So it was kind of crazy. I was listening to this and I'm like, hey, this really does work because I actually lived this exact thing what the guy was talking about. So I know it's a punch in the gut, but my
It is.
my experience is, hey, keep doing great work, keep stacking those good reviews, and then always reply to the negative reviews. But for some reason with Yelp, those negative reviews seem to get prominent placement a lot of times. That's the biggest
We
complaint I hear from clients about
we
Yelp.
feel they stick more often than sort of like the real 5-star reviews, for example, that
Yeah,
that sort of get taken out from real customers, and you're like, well, why didn't this stick? If you know, if this
exactly. And
so, and
if I've heard it once, I've heard it 100 times from other business owners. Um, you're doing paid
Todd,
ads
there's
with
one
you.
thing I wanted to tell you. You said
Yeah,
love
go
the
ahead.
haters. There was one thing I just read about, and I don't know if you've heard about this, but there was near me in New Bedford, Massachusetts. There's an aquarium, and what they did, they really embraced what you're talking about, which is they received a 1-star review on Yelp, I believe, or it was Google Ads, but I think it was Yelp, and they printed T-shirts that said, "This is not a great aquarium." That was the
Oh,
review.
really?
So they made a whole bunch of T-shirts with this 1-star review. And so they just said, you know what? This is hysterical. We're going to turn this into, we're going to turn around
Wow.
this marketing. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
yeah. And
Reverse
so
psychology.
whenever we've had a less than 5-star review, what we always, we reply to all reviews, but, and we appreciate feedback. We as a company, we do love the process of feedback. We want to hear feedback. It's a great thing for a company in general. But when we reply to, under 5-star reviews, one of the goals is to better explain our company policy, right? Use this as an opportunity. Use this as an opportunity to explain maybe there was some miscommunication and why we got the bad review, or there was a problem and what. And so we can explain like our company policy, like if there was a confusion on cleaning supplies, for example, we can then better explain it in this response. Let's try to make lemonade as best we can with this. That's kind of how we look at it. And I also just want to say too, like Yelp for us, as much as everybody has bad stories, we couldn't have done our growth without Yelp at the time that we started to do it, going from a micro to a small business. So we're very grateful for Yelp. Like, so we want to love Yelp. And that's kind of the essence I want to leave with you guys too, is that we're frustrated because we think it could be a brilliant service if there was just some things they did differently. And so we had great success with Yelp overall. And I don't want that to get lost in my anecdote or sort of this, this talk about this. And so I just want to be clear. We would love to continue being full-time Yelpers.
Do you find it's interesting on Yelp because I had sent you a podcast I did with a guy named Anthony Hamilton, water heater. He does water heater repair, new installs. That is his licensed plumbers, but that's all they do. He is huge on Yelp and big believer of Yelp. I actually did another podcast with someone that is actually lives in the same town as Anthony. She's in the air conditioning business and she uses Yelp too. She told me something interesting. She found out the West Coast, for some reason, Yelp is really big on the West Coast. You're on the East Coast. Do you feel like the East Coast is big on Yelp or is it just something y'all decided to test?
It's a good question. I started using Yelp for restaurants when I was in Los Angeles living. So I was a West
Okay.
Coast Yelper. A lot of my
You're the
friends
West
had it. It
Coast.
was
There's
sort of
that
the way.
connection.
Yeah, and I'm old
Okay.
enough to remember sort of when Yelp started. So
Yeah.
it was really restaurant based. It was really fun, and I had some friends who were like those premier Yelp people that
Yeah.
go to the Yelp events, and so I was sort of involved in that, just hearing about it secondhand. I never did that stuff, but so yeah, I witnessed. So but I think it's everywhere. I think you see it. And one of the interesting things that Yelp does, and one of the things why we really like to protect our brand on there and why we're having this sort of conversation with them now is, they advertise through Google. Like they'll advertise in Google Ads like the top 10 cleaning companies in Quincy. And so if your rating is a certain, you'll make it into this list. And so being in that list is advantageous, obviously, to get more leads. And so we do feel like, hey, if we're getting nicked on these undeserved reviews, are we getting taken out of this search? And so that's where we sort of have a problem. It's like, it does really have tangible effects potentially,
That's a great point.
with the overall, I just want to be clear too. And I said this before, like, we're big, believers in freedom of speech. We believe in feedback as a company. I don't think I think having more is better, honestly. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
and sometimes it's hard to get good feedback and good,
I see
honest
Yelp
feedback.
showing up a lot in the organic search too. So, and when you click on them, they're aggregators, right? So there's a list of cleaning companies, that could help you. And so, yeah, if you're kind of getting a 2 for 1 there. Um, which is interesting. You mentioned a term a while ago because when we talked, you said you do a lot of the marketing yourself, right? You do a lot of it in house. And so you're running this Yelp campaign, but you mentioned ROAS, return on ad spend. So
ad
way
spend.
to go, Jim, because a lot of business owners have no idea what that term is, or that they even need to be tracking return on ad spend. You know, we preach, we're real big on lead conversion and tracking all leads and putting an ROI to it and what is our cost per lead and all that jazz. But it caught my ear because I'm a marketer. So it's really more of a kudos to be on top of that and make sure you're tracking those metrics to know if it is a good return, if your marketing dollars is having a good return. It sounds like it is on Yelp. So that's a big
It,
kudos to you.
It is. I mean, what they say, and look, I'm an amateur at that side of it. And I will kind of explain a little bit more. But what I kind of know just from going to school and having this experience is, you want to have at least like you kind of want to be 3 to 1 or above. And
Sure.
so obviously Yelp is on the lower side of the scale, although I think it's steady. I think the quality is good. And that's why we tend to get people ready to spend money with our company. It's not a trying to track people down like over weeks of time, like, hey, come into my house whenever you feel. They're ready to go. And we love that. And that's, as a company, you want that. You want people to be ready. We can book you in the next week. And that's really like what we love to do. And so Yelp is sort of conducive for steady growth, I would say. I wouldn't say it wouldn't be like exponential growth, like a wild ROAS number or anything like this. So
Hey, if it's 3 to 1 or up, I think it's a positive ROI. Keep rolling with it. How's the Google Ads and LSA going? Because you told me when I talked to you a while back, you actually showed me a book you're reading on in your own Google Ads campaigns
I,
and stuff of that nature.
that's how,
How's that
that's
experience
my
been?
level. Well, that's my
Yeah.
level,
Well,
like
I mean,
one
hey,
book,
I love
right?
that you're diving in.
So yeah. So I'm absolutely no expert. Just basic, starting a basic campaign. The LSA is obviously easier to do too. Like it's a little bit more straightforward. And so I'm actually going into the kiddie pool. That's why I'm doing it that way. I'm going to probably experiment with the pay-per-click side of things, but again, I don't have any data yet. I literally just started it this
Just
week. We just updated our website more, and we were just planning the campaign with our marketing team. So our marketing director, and so we're doing it in house, and so we're seeing what that's going to be. We're setting our budget, and we're trying to get more eggs into different baskets from Yelp. And I think and part of the conversation with Yelp is, listen, we want to be with you, but we want to make sure that we can, we have other avenues too, if this isn't going to work out, or if we're not feeling like you're hearing us or doing enough to protect our brand, we feel like we need to experiment elsewhere. And that's what we're doing. And so we're kind of making that leap, if you will.
yeah, I always encourage clients to test as many channels as possible. I mean, sometimes old school, like direct mail works in some industries still, right? And then people don't even think
It
about that.
does.
Guys doing direct mail are crushing it because the competition is much lower. But I'm a big believer. The more channels that are producing a positive ROI, the better. So we don't ever fear. For example, like if someone asks us, "Hey, what about this?" and it's a service we don't provide, let's just use direct mail. I'm like, "Hey, give it a try." And then if it works, keep going. I don't ever fear we're going to lose marketing budgets with a client or marketing dollars because they go and try another channel. I think the more you try and test, but you're going to try it, you get and test it, you got to track it, right? So you make decisions based off real data. So, no, I agree with you. Don't want all your eggs in one basket and so forth. What?
We actually, it's funny you mentioned the direct mail. It's popular with cleaning companies. So we're not the inventor of this, but we have door tags. So we have like the really nice designed door tags we hang on people's doors. So if we're going
Door
to
hangers.
neighborhoods that
I
are
love it.
door hangers, and we've had a good response from that. And we
Yeah.
your goal for doing direct marketing like that is you don't want to be invasive, right? You don't want to like trespass, right? And so you have to make it sort of suitable and appropriate and common sense based.
I
You,
I I
I
love
don't
the
like it
old
when a
door hanger.
Verizon guy comes up to my door, right, and says, "Do you want to buy?" Like I don't like sort of having that space invaded sometimes, even
Sure.
though I signed up for FiOS, in the last couple. So what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
it's almost like you don't want to have it sort of in your face necessarily.
No, I totally agree with that. And I love the fact that door hangers are working for you. That makes
It,
me smile. Because I'm an old school print
but
guy, right? I cut my teeth in
yeah,
print, yellow pages. So um
good for you.
that
That's
makes
great.
me I love it. Yeah, no, I love that. What about like ChatGPT? Are you seeing any leads from ChatGPT? I know you did a search and you said your name didn't appear how you wanted to, that could be a simple what was called schema. Are you familiar with schema? That term, schema.
No, I'm not.
Schema's been around forever. It's a code that's inside your site. It actually lets you tell the search engines, right? And now AI, what your business is about and what category you are. Like I'm a residential cleaning, so you have categories to pick for. But it's really it's funny because doing marketing all these years in digital, the past 15 plus, people talk about schema now, how important it is for AI, like it's something new. And I'm like, schema's been around forever. What I didn't realize is that there's still a ton of websites out there that have no schema or no proper schema markup on their sites, which really surprised me because I just thought that's kind of some basic 101 marketing. But it could be as simple as there's no schema on your site, right? And so there's some things that you could you being a do-it-yourself guy, just research that. Ask ChatGPT, right, about why is schema important for my website, and then there's tools you can do and so forth to look. And I don't know what are you in WordPress? Is your site
We're in
built in WordPress?
WordPress. We're
Yeah.
WordPress based. Yes.
Yeah, so some simple searching and so forth, how to check your site, on ChatGPT could let you know real quick, hey, if you have an issue or not. But it could be that. I don't know. I didn't look at your site, but it kind of sounds like that. But any leads that come from ChatGPT, do you know?
Well, it's interesting. We've seen so most of our leads do come through Yelp, and now that we're sort of branching into the website and into Google, we've been getting more and more. We have a form on our website which you can request a quote, which has worked great for us. But we're getting a lot of AI. I think they found this form, and we're getting a lot of AI chat or form submissions, which is
Like
interesting.
spam?
Yeah,
Is it
some
spam?
of it's spam. Some of it's spam. Some of it's like for like a commercial cleaning, like it's probably finding something that
Oh,
is trying to search
so
widely. So we're getting like an automated
they're
message in a
soliciting
form.
you.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Solicitation is a
Yeah.
big thing, of course, in small
Yeah.
business, right?
I
Like
would,
and through Yelp and through
yeah.
Google. We get a lot
So
of
you get
that.
a web form comes in, but instead of someone looking for a cleaning service or your service, they're actually trying to sell you a service. Or is that what you're talking
Correct.
about? Something like that?
Sometimes.
Or
Sometimes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. We've had a couple
yeah. I get
instances where
those
it's like
too.
a yeah.
Yeah, I'll get those as well. And spam's always going to be there. There's some things we do with our clients, our web forms to really try to toggle back the spam, put some protection in place. But it's kind of an uphill battle. But if you're getting a ton of spam, there are some things you can do within your web forms to try and help reduce that, reduce that amount. So it sounds like Yelp is a big thing. LSA, local service ads, for those who may not be familiar with that term, is something you've just started testing, which is a pay per lead model on Google. It's a paid platform. And then it sounds like the whole AI, the chat GPT, and maybe organic is something you're dabbling in, which involves optimizing the website and content creation and all that. Is that fair assessment?
Yeah, it's fair assessment. And we're
Okay.
definitely the least of which is the AI. Like
Yeah.
we're we're not there yet for AI. We're in that point.
How are your
I think
Google
it's really interesting.
reviews?
Great.
How
We have
are
limited
you
right now.
actively
Like
getting reviews?
we've been doing Yelp reviews for the longest time, and now we've sort of converted. We've sort of tried to, push along the Google side. So they're coming. They're great, but we just don't have a lot of them yet, and we're working on that. So we know that's important.
Yeah, I would highly recommend to create a process where you're asking for reviews, make it easy for your client to leave a review. Because when you know they're happy and you have experience with them and you know they're happy, that's the time to ask. But one thing to keep in mind, the AI, so when people are searching in ChatGPT and they're typing in the public's being trained to type in really long tail questions, is how I describe it, more detail about what they're experiencing at the house versus house cleaning near me, right? But the AI is scraping the web instantaneously, right? And they're looking for trusted, accredited businesses, and a lot of that is coming from your review, your Google review profile, your Google My Business profile, and the reviews that you have. So, and then the other thing is your content needs to be structured on your site to be answering these questions. Think of it as an answer first website, meaning the question they're typing into these LLMs, large language models, AIs, is does your content answer those questions? You have robust FAQs. So they're looking for, does it answer the question? And basically, are they trusted? Do they have good reviews? BBB accredited, all those credibility pieces trust signals are really important to show up, not only on AI, but Google as well, because Google is their whole what we see today in search, all the blue links and everything that we're used to is all changed. It's all going to be default into their AI overview, which you can go on Google now and click AI overview or AI mode, and it changes what you're seeing. You can still search, but your results look different. But they're all transitioning into AI. So just a little from my experience of what, if you're starting to, hey, how do I show up more organically? How do I show up in AI? Those are some really key factors that you want to put a strategy behind. But it sounds like, hey, you're off to a good start. And the coolest thing, Jim, is just that you're tracking all you're tracking your leads, you're tracking your spend and putting data together to see what the real ROI is. So that to me, I get pretty fired up talking about marketing. Sorry, I stole the call or the
No,
meeting, but no,
I
that's
love
all
it.
great. No, it's all good stuff. Um, so let's kind of kept you longer than normal, but I've been enjoying talking to you, Jim. Let's kind of start to wrap up. What are you excited about in the next 2 to 3 years with Rose's Cleaning Inc.?
We think we would love to have the experience of expanding a little bit further. We've been asked if we're going other places, and right now we're growing the Massachusetts area. We think that there are so many great opportunities and great homes that we still would love to help in our area. But we're eyeing other markets too. Like Rose and I would love to try like for example, like a Phoenix, Arizona. We're talking about that. So having a Roses Cleaning Phoenix or something like that. That would be kind of like like to see if we could do it like as a business entrepreneur move. Just can we do two markets? Can we have one running very well on the East Coast and one on the West Coast? And we kind of love the challenge of that, and what a world we can attempt to do that. And so I'm also a West Coast guy. I lived out there for 20 years. So part of it is like, what's our lifestyle too? Like,
Sure.
warm
It
weather. But
sounded
so
like an escape
that's it.
from It sounded like an escape from
My,
the East Coast in the
I
winter is
love,
what it
I
sounded like,
love,
Jim. That, hey, we can have a business around that.
well,
I like it.
it's true. It's true. But my I grew up in Cambridge. I'm from New England. My family's still there and I love it. I'm a diehard New Englander. I like the snow. However, I also, like the warm weather as well.
Yeah.
So, it's,
Hey,
it's that. So, and also it's one of the things I didn't touch on yet, but one of the things with growth, what we've experienced is we don't want to grow too fast. One of the things that I've almost had to do is put the clamps on. We don't advertise more on Yelp, and we haven't done Google until now because there is a certain limit of how fast you want to grow. And I think it's going to sound crazy, but growing too fast actually has a real stressful end result often for your team, for your management. We're a relatively green management team too. So we're learning. We're very, our team is extremely bright and intelligent and loves to do what they do. It's just, we don't have a lot of experience to handle the rapid growth. We also have a real long training process. So growing too fast is something we haven't done. So we're trying to achieve growth over time. So it's the process of how do we blossom in that sense is the next thing for us.
makes total sense because it takes money to acquire new clients. And when you get them, you want to keep them for long term and really develop that partnership. That's our motto. It sounds like you too. So I love the fact that, hey, we don't want to grow too fast and we want to make sure we put a lot of emphasis on training so that when you do get a new client, you can have them for years, not months, right? Years. And
That's our
so
goal.
our goal as a company, like we bring in a new client, we want to have them for a minimum of 18 months. We can get the 18-month mark. We'll probably have them for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Maybe like our longest client now, I think is like 11 years that's been with us. So same model, same theory. Like I said, the commonality of operating or owning, being business owners, right? So no, I love that. In Phoenix, hey, it's a great place to be in the winter months. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm curious, what do you okay, so what do you know now, right, that you wish you and Rose had known when you began growing the business together?
Think what we're running into now is like how like structure of like accounting and structure of like payment methods and stuff like that. Like we spend, I'm the CEO, so I'm sort of overseeing that whole financial department. We didn't accept credit cards for a long time. So I don't know, when you come from it's your first business, credit cards are a scary thing. It was to me, like, not that I've never had one, but or I've always had credit cards, but adding a credit card or merchant account, all this stuff. But had we done that earlier, it would have made sort of the streamlined process for our back end much easier. And as it turned out, and I didn't understand this, one of the things I learned was people want to pay in the easiest method possible, even if it's a little bit more expensive. If you have to pass on the credit card cost, people are generally okay with that. And I wish we had sort of set up that protocol a little bit more. And
Yeah,
I,
that 3% off the top can really scare business
it is
owners, but just charge 5% more, right? Or so
exactly.
it's not, and
Yeah,
that's usually a little
you build it
number,
in.
but hey, we 99% of our clients pay credit card, and we do have a few bank drafts, ACH, but and I hate when I see every year how much money it costs us to take credit cards. But it's also, I just say it's a cost of doing business, and we try to accommodate that for maybe having a little bit higher price. What I don't do, and some people do, is I don't like to show a 3% service charge. I'd rather just have it into the price. I don't know. For some
I
reason, when
understand.
I see that, I'm like, hey, I get it. Like sometimes restaurants will do that or whatnot. I get
They
why they're
do.
doing it, but I'm like, just raise your prices. It just makes me feel better. I don't know, because I'm like, it's just kind of the cost of doing business. And you're right. It's easier to pay by credit card than
When
cash or so forth.
when you have a clientele already set, if you have several hundred clients and you switch to credit card, it's hard to then you have to then ask for a raise though if you want to eat that
Yeah.
cost,
Yeah.
right?
No,
So
it's
like that adds like that complicated. We don't,
100%.
we're trying to be, so
Well, yeah.
if
And
you've done that from the beginning, it's a lot easier.
I'm a big believer. If you make that switch, then yeah, you just need to me, it's about one of our core values, 100% transparency. So if you do make the switch, then I do agree. Then, hey, you need to ask for it and just here's why. And if they love doing business, they're not going to worry about 3%, right? If you charge them $100 and it costs $3 more, it's, hey, I'm going to keep rows for the experience I get. So I totally get that. Okay, I've got two follow-up questions for you. One, kind of off the topics of business and whatnot. Since we're doing a podcast, I'm curious, do you listen to podcasts? And if so, are there any podcasts that you really like that you could share with our listeners?
I'm not a podcast listener. I used to listen back in the day, kind of like the heyday of
Okay.
podcasts. I used to listen to Bill Simmons and I used to listen to the Nerdist podcast. Those were I used to listen to when I was driving in traffic in Los Angeles. I'm working from home and working from the truck. So I'm not a podcaster right now. I do but when I find them, I do, I tend to sample when I find something I like. So I
Yeah,
enjoy it.
one of the reasons I said is because I do a lot of walking, so I try to get new ideas of things I can listen to. But there's so much content out there; it can be a little overwhelming. But when I find stuff I like, then yeah, it's nice to just have a variety of things to listen to, and because there's so much good content and topics that people are talking about. The other question is, what I always like to kind of finish up on is there's a young Jim, there's a young Rose out there, and they're thinking about, hey, I want to start my own business, maybe a cleaning business, maybe it's another industry. But if they came to you and said, Jim, I want to start my own business, I want to be an entrepreneur, really, admire what you guys have built, what advice would you give them?
It's a great question. I would probably give them one tip of manager advice and one sort of tip of overall advice. And the manager tip first would be um, when you when you are going to assign tasks to people, when you're going to have when you're going to be a manager or somebody in the C-level suite, make sure that when you are assigning tasks that you have a basic, what I would call a basic plus understanding of what you're assigning. Have some working knowledge of everything that goes into your company. Just learn it. You don't have to be an expert. You don't need a PhD in anything in particular, but you need to know how things work, how they fit your company, how they kind of cohesively come together, and also how long it's going to take, what you're assigning to people, what are you asking people to do. So you need to have this kind of basic plus, like you need to have the basics, but then you also have to have some application. And so I try to live by that. Like I try to do the first time we do something like marketing, I'm going to learn the first campaign, but I don't plan on doing it forever. Right. So I think it's just something, make sure that you understand what you're doing before you give it to other people. And you'll just learn more as a result. That's just been my experience with post-production and also as CEO of Rosa's Cleaning. And for the overall tip, I think you've already talked about a ton, and I think a lot of people would reiterate what I would say, which is find something you're passionate about. It's a lot of hours that you're going to put into this. Find something you really like doing, something at the end of the day you really get something out of. and really enjoy doing, or the result, or how you make people feel from what you're doing. Because if you don't have that, if you can't get up looking forward to doing what you're doing, then it's really hard to be an entrepreneur running a small business, because of just, there's a lot of time, a lot of stress involved. I wouldn't trade it for anything, to be clear, but there's that. So find what you love.
And I agree 100%. I hear that so much. It's there's so much stress, so much that goes into out of the business. If you're a business owner, you get it, but then it's usually followed by, I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I love what I do, but there is a lot of sleepless nights and so forth that go into it. Jim, it's been great visiting with you. I appreciate your openness to just share your story and for Rose's Cleaning Inc. and the fact that you guys are a husband-wife duo. I love that you're having success. You're crazy about each other, which is really cool. You work together. You don't hear that a lot. So I appreciate you sharing all of that. For our listeners, if they want to reach out to you, Jim, or get a hold of Rose's Cleaning Inc., what's the best way to find you guys?
Our website, rosescleaninginc.com. And we're all over social media as well. We're on all the major ones. So reach out to us. We have us and a team of people, and we'd love to help. We'd love to talk to you more about cleaning, more about life in general. We love it.
Awesome. Hey, well, Jim, thanks again for hopping on. I'm going to let you get back to your vacation in Aruba. All right. So I appreciate talking to you, and I look forward to staying in touch with you.
Thanks, Todd, very much. It was a great time. Thank you for talking to me.
You bet. Thank you.